also pleading not guilty Wednesday. Federal prosecutors allege both people followed the agent's vehicle for 20 to 30 minutes before the collision and confrontation. They say Martinez took defensive fire from a Border Patrol agent. Next hearing is next month.
ABC's Chuck Sievertson. The New York State Department of Health confirming a case of locally acquired chikungunya on Long Island. It marks the first case of the mosquito-borne virus locally acquired in New York and the first locally acquired case in the U.S. since 2019. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text ALL to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text ALL to 321-321. That's all to 321-321.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gatecitymonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7141. That's 603-883-7141. Gate City Monument, memorials of distinction for people who care.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Thank you for listening to WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. The following program has been previously recorded. Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day, the Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd McKinley, and John Gorton.
John, good evening.
Hey there, Chris. Yeah, this is not a pre-recorded show. This is going to be live, coming at you very, very live. I sent Johnny a message so he can correct this.
All right, so we got a little technical snafu there, folks. Welcome back to the program. It is Wednesday night, October 15th, 2025. It's the heart of football season. Fall is upon us, and I can only imagine what it looks like up there in New England. What is it like up there, John? Is it beautiful? You got lovely shades of leaves this fall, or how's it? It's not a good one. A good one. How's it looking?
Kind of a mix. You know, we got some nice foliage, but at the same time, there's been some dry spells, so it's not as strong,
not as vibrant as it could be. Is it?
Yeah. You would like to see a bit more color, but not terribly bad.
All right, well, then I'm not missing anything not coming to New England, but I am telling you this. One day I'm going to meet Roger at Gate City's Monuments.
No, that doesn't rule out North Country. Now, a lot of people go north of where I'm at to see that foliage, and that might be a little bit more vibrant up there. I haven't been up that way.
I think you missed that. I said I want to see Roger at Gates City Monuments.
I did. I heard it. Yeah.
I love those ads, man.
I tell you, we're gonna. Maybe I need to go over there, pop in, and pay him a visit, shake his hand, and tell him, hey, I got bros that want to meet you. One's in Pennsylvania, the other one's in Tennessee, and I feel like taking a trip and seeing them. You know, they're good people.
Anyway, but so I take it Todd is away from us this evening. I think he said he might not be here tonight.
He said he'll probably be late if he does make it. He is out on business, and he does have a motel room. So
Oh, okay, folks. He's in Vegas. Hookers and blow. We got it. We got it.
Yeah, only he wishes. No, I'm sorry, but the American Legion does not send him out to Vegas. They stay within this good, fine state of Tennessee.
All right, so he's doing Legion events tonight, doing veterans business. All right, well, it is absence. Let's go with it. John and I usually discuss who's got the lead. John, is it your turn? Is it my turn? Or are we just going to do it together tonight?
Let's just do it together. It doesn't matter who leads, right? We'll just do our thing, and it always works out that way anyway.
So a quick question then. Did you see that literally like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, President Trump announced that India will stop buying oil from Russia? This is huge because before the Russian invasion, they were only buying about $1 billion worth of Russian petroleum per year. It's jacked up to 26 billion, to 48 billion, to 53 billion, and it's even higher this year. This is one of the reasons why Russia can continue its war between China and India buying all its raw materials and its commodities. This is huge news. Modi thumbed his nose at Trump until Trump imposed outrageous tariffs on India, and India's economy is reeling. So they've backed down. Once again, Trump is right. The tariffs are a weapon, a tool to get what he wants.
Well, let's see. Trump has made a deal there with Israel and Hamas. I'm sure we'll get more in depth into that. And that's looking good so far. But he is getting very, very frustrated with hang on a second. He's getting frustrated with Russia because they're not coming to the table. So I believe we got Todd McKinley.
Don't let him in the show. He's late.
Are you there, Todd?
Hey, John, can you hear me?
Yeah.
He's calling in.
He is. All right. Can you hear us, Todd? Well, you might have to try the other phone. I thought this one would work better. Anyway,
I heard him hang up.
Yeah, he did. I had him call in on my spare phone. I thought it would work better than and get better quality than the in-house phone, but that
didn't work out.
No. Right. So anyway, yeah. So I guess he's getting frustrated with Putin. Putin's not coming to the table, and let's see. Todd's calling back in. We'll see if we can get Todd in here. Todd, are you there now? Hello, Todd. All right, we're going to assume he can't get. I'll send him a message. So, as I was saying, there was some reports that he wants to possibly supply Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. And I don't know about you, but I'm thinking that might be a bit of a bluff. But, Trump, he says it. There's some sustenance behind it. It's not, if Putin doesn't come to the table, then Tomahawk missiles might arrive.
Yeah, I maybe it was Tomahawks. I think someone reported as Patriots. I'm like, they already gave them Patriots. What's the point? Tomahawks is a huge deal. I mean, that's a bridge we don't want to cross. We don't want to give unreliable partners led by grifters like Volodymyr Zelensky access to things like Tomahawk missiles. They are our ace in the hole. We can launch them from submarines, Trident submarines, and strike anywhere in the world at a moment's notice. So it's not something we want others to have their fingers on. The only time we want them to see the Tomahawk is when it's coming at them before it explodes.
Yeah. Well, no, we've had people on the ground as advisors and stuff during the course of this. So it wouldn't surprise me if he said, yeah, we're bringing the Tomahawks, but you're not touching them. We'll set everything up. We'll get everything good to go. Maybe we'll let you push the button.
Well, then essentially we become combatants in the conflict. We're in the war. That's not a wise idea.
But we did that already.
John.
Hey, Todd, can you hear us now?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah. I'm getting ready to take a drive for about an hour. I just wanted to call in real quick and say hello and tell you have a good show.
Oh, you're not.
If I can get to my room in time, I'm gonna log on and be on the last hour if I can get there.
Well, put the foot down, hammer down, bro. Let's go. Why are you wasting time?
Right.
Get it there.
Take your time. Don't hit deer. Don't hit any deer. It's that season.
Yeah, it's deer, Todd. Deer dodging time, man. No, we don't. We do want you to be safe. I mean, yeah, put your foot down, but follow that speed limit.
I just want to let everybody know that I'm with the National Commander for the American Legion here, so we're running a little bit behind schedule. So I just want to call and let you guys know and tell you to have a good show. If I can be on there in the next hour, I will.
Sounds good.
I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
So that reminds me of something, John, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, but I want to bring this topic up now since Todd just brought up, who's the National Commander of the American Legion. The National Commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars published an op-ed this week in response to a disgusting, shameful Washington Compost article, once again seeking to denigrate veterans and mislead the public by claiming that veterans are making outlandish claims for disability. And then once again, foolishly and erroneously and misleadingly in a disinformation effort, trying to convince people that the veterans disability pension is because veterans can't work, so they're being compensated for not working, which is utter nonsense. And last year, about 18 months ago, I talked about this on the show, and I did some coverage on my channel in my program in which I talked about the Washington Post running an article, and I said, watch, they're going to come for veterans after this, and this is the start of it. They wrote an article, and they tried to equate Social Security disability payments with a military veterans pension. And I said at the time that it was smarmy, it was dishonest, and it's an effort to undermine veterans and to take away things that make us whole. A veteran's disability pension is not because a veteran can't work. And a perfect example of that would be the gentleman who works for Fox News. I can't think it's Jones or something like that, Johnny Jones or something like that. He's missing two legs from he was an EOD specialist who explosive ordnance specialist who had his legs blown off when he was disarming a device. He works for Fox News. I'm sure he makes more than $250,000. Last year, they wanted a means test. They said veterans that make over a certain amount of money shouldn't get a disability payment. And their argument was, well, people don't get as much money as veterans get, or people, they have to prove they can't work for Social Security disability. But Social Security disability is not even remotely the same thing. Social Security disability is for people who cannot work. And many people who get it have never worked in their lives because they haven't been able to work. Therefore, the Social Security Administration gives them a payment because they're unable to build credits up to build a Social Security retirement account and give them something to survive because they can't work. The Veterans Administration disability payments are intended to make a veteran whole. You cannot replace someone's testicles that have been blown off and give them the ability to procreate after they've had them blown off by a roadside bomb. You cannot compensate someone adequately for ringing in their ears from traumatic brain injury. You cannot replace a limb, even with a prosthetic. It isn't the same. You cannot make a person whole. So what they do is they make a small effort to provide a stipend, tax exempt, which is not a lot of money for most people, to help them be whole again. And that's the purpose of veterans' disability pension. It is not because they can't work. Most veterans are able to continue working, but they deal with trauma, they deal with disability, they deal with crushing pain that is a consequence of their service to this nation, what they gave for this nation. And to hear smarmy Washington Post reporters run stories trying to equate it with a Social Security disability payment or claim that veterans are en masse cheating the system is utter garbage and nonsense. The commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars at the national level wrote an incredible op-ed, and I encourage people to go to the VFW homepage, look under the news releases, and look for that opinion piece from the commander. She was absolutely brilliant. Now, not just saying it because she stated many of the things I've just said repeatedly over several years, but she put it in a very succinct manner, much probably better than I just did, wasting 5 minutes here trying to explain this to you. But this is what they do. I said when Trump lost in 2020, remember, they would come for veterans first and try to undermine a reputation and the confidence the public has in veterans, and then they go for the active duty. And that's exactly what's been happening. And it continues to this day. It's disgusting. And I just want to go down and take a honey wagon and dump a load of horse manure all over the front steps of the Washington compost.
So, as you know, I did not serve, and still, as somebody who did not serve in the United States military, I look at what they do to veterans, and it disgusts me. Because they made promises and they don't fulfill those promises. Or suppose, as you described, and it was not a waste of 5 minutes of our time to hear this, Chris, by the way. So, but no, they don't fulfill the goals. They don't fulfill the needs of people who made sacrifices for the betterment of our supposed betterment of our country. It's always been argumentative whether we should have been involved in certain wars, but regardless, these people served. They gave up their time. They made the sacrifices. Many gave up their lives. And like you said, they gave up their ability to live a good quality life. I was just talking on a show yesterday with Glenn Baker, who's trying to get people covered for what's this new robotics they have for, what's it called? So that some paralyzed veterans can walk again.
Oh, cybernetics, man?
Trying to exoskeletal
exoskeletons, yeah, okay.
So and they're very expensive, and
they're very
the Veterans Administration is supposed to supply these sorts of things to them, but they always, you got to meet the requirements or whatever.
Very, very narrow threshold to get approval.
Yeah. So basically what they're doing is skating out. They just make it so difficult. People are just, and you see this all the time. You see these homeless veterans, and I told him, I says, my fellow guest here on Common Sense would tell you, Chris Wyatt would tell you that there's no such thing as homeless veterans if they need a home, because the VA is supposed to house them. And he says, yeah, but the problem is we're still seeing homeless veterans. And my thoughts are, you need an advocate to manage through the red tape sometimes through the Veterans Administration for benefits and things like that. And I've heard this before. It's like the medical system. It gets so overwhelming for a lot of people. They don't know how to navigate for themselves. If you're suffering mentally or emotionally, sometimes it's very frustrating, and they break down and just give up.
Well, John, two points about that. Number one, the point you made about a promise. Yes, a promise is made, but a promise is a promise, and promises are broken all the time. More to the point, Congress has passed laws. There's legislation that legislates these payments to veterans. And one of the reasons why payments have been soaring over the past decade is because we've spent 20 years at war and have increased the number of veterans who have traumatic injuries, post-traumatic stress disorder, erectile dysfunction, cancers, and all sorts of issues, plus loss of limb and things like that. All of this stuff has occurred in much larger numbers over the past 2 decades. We haven't seen these numbers since Vietnam. So from Vietnam until the Gulf War, there's virtually no combat. And we still had disabled veterans, but because you could be disabled during your service. But the number was much smaller. Then the number began to grow again because of the Gulf War and constant deployments in Somalia and Rwanda, and the list goes on and on. But because we've been in conflict for 2 decades until Trump came in office, we have 2 decades, millions of veterans who've been exposed to this. Many of them don't even realize these issues and get evaluated until many years later. That's one reason. The other reason why the cost of disability payments has soared is because Congress, after 50 or 60 years of neglecting the needs of World War II, Korea, Vietnam, especially with Agent Orange, Gulf War veterans exposed to toxic burn pits and things like that, they finally passed the PACT Act. Overwhelmingly, Democrats and Republicans passed the PACT Act, which has expanded the number of eligible veterans exponentially, not arithmetically, but exponentially. And the VA is making more payments to people who are now claiming things that they don't even have to have a very clear tie to it. We have many veterans today in a period in their life, long after their service. They may have served 1.5 years, 2, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Long after their service, they develop cancer. And they can go to VA, and I'm not saying they're cheating, but if it's tied to their service, they're going to get paid for it. In the past, they would be like, no, you've been out of the Army for 20 years. That cancer isn't from your service. Well, now, the VA looks at this very differently, and their threshold for approving it is very low because Congress mandated it. Congress did that, not veterans. There are veterans who will always scam, and there are also people who aren't even veterans who scam and pretend to be veterans and get away with it. Mm-hmm. The point is here, the Washington Post claims they went through 20 years of data and thousands of files. Yeah, and you found 8 cases you want to tell us about. And I realize you can't tell us about every case, but let's say they found a few dozen cases. Out of 4 million disabled veterans, I find it vile and repulsive. This is not a legitimate publication. They think they're exposing fraud. The fraud is at the Washington Post that tries to distort and twist the story. And bully to the commander of the VFW. She did a fantastic, I'm proud to call her the commander of our VFW because of that op-ed alone. And I've been beating this drum for 18 months, and I'm glad that people are taking notice of it because the Washington Post is a sleazy outfit that really needs to be exposed. That's the first thing, the promise. All right, very quickly. On the homeless thing, to be clear, there are homeless veterans. There will always be homeless veterans. The problem is manifesting in so many ways. Number one, mental illness. You have people that have mental illness. You have people who have addiction problems, alcohol, drugs, and other challenges. And regardless of what you do as the VA, regardless of what you do as a neighborhood church or social organization or just a generous person, there will be people who sleep rough, sleep on the street. They will, or sleep in their car. You cannot stop that. There will always be somebody like that because of their own circumstances. However, there is no reason any veteran who needs a place to sleep tonight should be homeless. That's a true statement. The Veterans Administration, as I said before, has a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week hotline. You call. You don't have to be the veteran. You could see some guy sleeping in the corner down there and know that he served in Iraq 20 years ago and see that he's homeless. You can call and say, there's a homeless veteran. I don't know his name. He's down here on the street. Here's the address. The VA is obliged to investigate and get someone out there. And if they're a legitimate veteran, find them a place to stay. They'll put you in a temporary accommodation or into a hotel if they have to, but no veteran need be on the street tonight. There is a reason they're there, and it isn't the VA's fault. It's the fault of the veteran, it's the fault of society, or it's the fault of people not intervening to help that veteran. And that's the bottom line. I just want to make sure we don't want to beat the VA up. We also don't want to overpraise them, but they do have a mandate to take veterans off the street who need housing, and they do pay for accommodation for up to a year while you get yourself sorted out, but they won't pay forever. So that's an important distinction too. If after 12 months you've done nothing to improve your situation in life, then you're on your own. As far as I know, there might be some extensions, but the norm is, we're not going to house 200,000-300,000 veterans because they won't go out and find a place to live. But no veteran needs to be on the street tonight. And I think that's important to say.
Absolutely. If people get something out of that, they hear that and they understand what you said and willing to take action. It's just one person. It was worth saying.
Yep. Okay. So let's get back to the news.
Yeah.
All right, so here's more news. Trump, another judge, federal judge, has temporarily blocked his move to fire federal employees. Yep, he's blocking it. Federal judge temporarily blocked Trump administration from moving ahead with mass firings of federal employees while the government is shut down. Judge Susan Ilston issued a temporary restraining order in a ruling from the bench today, stopping the government from cutting federal workers at multiple agencies. The court record suggested the Trump administration was taking advantage of the lapse in government spending and government functioning to assume that all bets are off and that laws don't apply to them anymore and that they can impose the structures that they like on a government situation they don't like. Said Ilston, a Bill Clinton appointee. So the government's already sent out a reduction of force notices to 4,000 federal employees last Friday. So this will put a stop to it temporarily. I'm not sure if the judge is on solid ground. That's just her opinion. What rules is she talking about? She doesn't cite rules here. So I guess we'll see what happens. But for now, no more federal layoffs. But they're still furloughed because the Democrats won't vote for money.
Yeah, they that's what you call activist judges.
Well, I believe she may be an activist judge. I could be wrong on that, but you got to cite law. You can't just give your opinion. She's giving. You give your opinion as a judge, your informed legal opinion, but she's just giving an opinion here, and she doesn't cite any basis in law. Unions sued Trump, as they are wont to do, to protect their employees. The fact that government workers are in unions, I find obnoxious. Government workers, if they're essential, should not be in unions. Air traffic controllers, military, law enforcement should never be allowed to be in unions, in my view.
Yeah, government's usually known to pay top rate anyway.
Well, ours certainly does.
Yeah, but there's more than that too. There's also working conditions and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily opposed to unions. I see it kind of like some people don't know how to represent themselves in the workplace. It's like going to court. If you're going to court, you represent yourself in a court of law. You're a fool. You hire an attorney, right, to represent you. So I just kind of see it like that. But sometimes unions come with abuses too, and they drive work out of the country.
Well, I would say that unions in the modern history have done more harm than good, and they drive people away more often than they should. Having been forced to become a Teamster, in full disclosure, I have very little use for unions. The abusive conduct of the Teamsters and what little they delivered for me turned me against unions. Not that I was ever in favor of them. There was a time we needed such organizations for sure. Upton Sinclair wrote The Jungle, a book about meatpacking plants in Chicago and the use of child labor and the horrific conditions there, unsafe, unsanitary. Mm-hmm. There was a time, and unions can have a role in blue collar work, but white collar employees should never be in unions. It's just antithetical to common sense, and I have a real problem with it, especially things like air traffic controllers, law enforcement, fire, and military.
Thing about it is unions don't do what they once did, and they've gotten weak. One part is because their constituents don't support them like they used to. That's one issue in it. But the other issue is you got things like the American, ATF, American Teachers Federation, or Federation of Teachers.
Yeah.
And this woman's taking millions and millions of dollars of union dues and use them for political purpose, jet setting across the globe for political reasons. She's not using the money for union business. She's using it just for leftist political agenda.
Well, and that's
and all sorts of nonsense.
That's just one example of the Teamsters have long been in the same situation. They're used for political purposes against their members' wills. This time they were kind of quiet about it, but that's not the role of the union. They shouldn't become involved in politics. They should not be taking people. They should be there to ensure safe working conditions, but we have OSHA for that. But they're a backstop, and they should be there to negotiate, good benefits and wages for people who are part of their union. That's it.
And here you go. Holden Caulfield has a good point here on your channel on YouTube. What good is the union if pensions are wiped out? People invest in their unions for pensions that they're going to retire on, and they get about retiring age. And this just happened last year, I think, with a major trucking company that went out. It was a union trucking company. When they went out, everybody lost everything. They were done.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, no, no chance of retiring at retirement age if your pension is gone, and you can be a Walmart greeter at 80 years of age, I suppose. I don't know what you do when you're 80 years old and you got to work to live. It's incredibly stressful for somebody.
Do they still do Walmart greeters? I mean,
I haven't seen. I don't go
haven't
to
seen one in
Walmart,
ages.
but the last time I've been to Walmart, I have not seen a Walmart greeter. I think they cut that out.
Yeah,
Along with the majority of their cashiers, because now they
It's
duped
all
everybody into checking
scam.
yourself out like a chump. You're doing somebody else's job, man.
Well, pretty soon we'll be picking up our own mail from Central Distribution Center and carrying it home too.
Yeah, probably will have to. I don't want it that bad. It's mostly bills and junk.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. So, Donald Trump was not awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Arguably, the Nobel Committee could argue that Trump really hadn't done anything to warrant it. He was only president for a few days before the January 31st deadline. And that would be a legitimate argument. But they've let their position be known. When one of the members of the Nobel Committee was interviewed, he said, well, Trump hasn't done anything worthy of the Nobel Prize. Well, we know where they're coming from. So that's their true sentiment. So if he doesn't get it next year, they should just disband the Nobel Prize. I mean, it's just a scam. I mean, they've given it to one terrorist after another. It's ridiculous. But in the meantime, Donald Trump this week was awarded Israel's highest honor, the Israeli Award, which has never been given to a non-Israeli citizen. And that was followed up with a visit to Sharm el-Sheikh, where 30 nations gathered to discuss peace in the Middle East, and a conference fostered by al-Sisi from Egypt and Donald Trump, where Egypt gave Donald Trump its highest decoration ever awarded to an individual. And at that event, the Prime Minister of Pakistan turned to Trump and said, this man deserves a Nobel. Give this man a Nobel. It is embarrassing for the left. Keir Starmer standing in the background like a little schoolboy, begging for attention. And of course, British politicians claiming that Britain's role in recognizing the state of Palestine is what led to peace. These people are shameful. They had no role in this whatsoever. This peace agreement, whether it lasts or not, was all Donald Trump, Qatar, and Egypt. Nobody else. They had nothing to do with it. Steve Witkoff, those guys negotiated for Trump, Jared Kushner. But these lying, slimy, smarmy politicians who have been in office throughout this war did nothing to stop it. Now they want credit for it.
So wait a minute now. Isn't there an organization within the Mideast that involves like Qatar and Saudi Arabia and a couple other nations where I think called GCC, but I don't know anything about it really, but I've heard about it. And they may have actually been some of the work behind this with Trump.
Well, you're talking about the Gulf Coordination Council.
Yes, that's it.
The Gulf Coordination Council is a small group. Qatar is a member of it, but Qatar was the lead effort on that. They really put a lot of time and effort into this. So, and then we have extreme right-wing lunatics in this country freaking out because the Secretary of War has announced that Qatar will have a training facility on our Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho, just below Boise, where they'll be training crews on F-15s. Well, they're buying F-15s from us. They need training on it. The training package comes with that. Malaysia already has pilots there, but they're freaking out. And we have right-wing lunatics claiming that the Qataris are having a military base in America. I'll tell you what, there's some really dumb people out there, John, and some of them are very big names on the.
Watch it now. Some people listening took a dislike or discontent to the idea that they're going to have the F-15 jets here with Qatar.
What do you mean have the F-15 jets here? Of course they're going to be here. We build them.
Yeah. No. On the base in Idaho. You when you said I thought that's where we're going. The fact that the base is there and we're going to have a base in addition to that base. Within that base, we're going to have a spot for Qatar to train them on those F-15 jets.
Well, we have that base, and in Texas, we train Germans to fly jets at an air base. What's the problem?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Some people don't like it because they feel like it's a foreign entity, and I think they feel like it's an occupation.
All right. South Africa has a consulate in San Francisco. Should that be removed? I mean, this is just not for you, John. These are just silly people that don't understand how the world works. We have foreign military who come on our shores. We send our military to foreign shores. It's a natural way of life. If you don't like Qatar, fine, I get it. But don't lie and claim that there's a Qataris, that sounds bad, that's a Qatari military base at Mountain Home. That's nonsense. They are paying to build a hangar where the F-15s they're training on will be there. The base belongs to Americans. You must show your military ID card to get in. If you're with Qatar, then their military ID card will be accepted in order to enter the base. You will not find Qataris flying F-15s to attack Canada from Mountain Home. That isn't going to happen. They have to train somewhere, and it's much better if we have control of it. We're not going to go and spend millions of dollars and send teams over to build something in Gutter where our people are put over there in a dangerous region to teach them how to fly. They learn back here where it's safe, and that's the end of the story. I mean, it just shows you how stupid some of these people.
So they're here temporarily just to learn the equipment. They're getting training. Basically, they're purchasing, getting training, and then they're going to take their planes and fly them back home.
Correct. That's how it works. Well, they'll probably buy more, or they'll leave a couple there for trainers, and they'll send more crews through to train. That's probably what'll happen. I don't know what they bought, but let's say they bought 18 aircraft. They probably leave 3 here for training, and then these people will rotate through. The next batch will come through at some point, and the next batch come through, and then the rest will be taken to Gutter. I mean, it shows you how easily people are manipulated by the news and how easily they're manipulated by emotion.
Well,
people don't like Gutter.
They don't understand.
Well, they don't want to understand it, John.
Well, they just haven't been exposed to it, really. I mean, I didn't realize that we were doing that sort of thing. When I first heard it, I thought the same thing that they thought. And then when I started reading a little deeper, I go, oh, this starts to make a little bit more sense. It's not so sensitive now. It's not like they're here nefariously or
No.
something. They're just here for training purposes. And so when I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, we're done with this. I get it now. But
they're paying us billions of dollars to buy these aircraft and for us to supervise the training. We're getting a lot of money for this.
Yeah, I understand that.
And it keeps jobs in places where General Dynamics builds F-15s.
I think, too, a lot of people saw Qatar as coming from the Mideast, and they didn't understand. Qatar is actually an ally. They're not.
They are, but a lot of people still don't like them as an ally, so I understand. But that's what I think is driving this, is the people that don't like them as an ally are pissed off, so they're trying to paint a picture to hoodwink the rubes that just don't know better.
Yeah. So, like we were saying earlier with the GCC, they were actually working behind the scenes with us, all this peace deal and stuff like that. To my understanding, 100%. I'm not fully
100%. That's exactly right.
So yeah, they're actually a valuable ally if they help to negotiate this and bring this to terms and stuff. Trump led it, but a lot of people don't understand. One man isn't moving everything. Yeah. It takes a great number of people to move things in the globe.
There's a lot of parts in this, but Trump is now the highest decoration of Israel, the highest decoration of Egypt. How many people in history can say that? Maybe Jimmy Carter. I don't know that even the case for him. No, it can't be Jimmy Carter. No one can say that. No one can say, to my knowledge, that they've received the highest honor of Egypt and Israel, because Israelis have never awarded to a non-Israeli. So Carter's was not an Israeli, so he never got the Israeli award. So Trump is the only person on the planet, to my knowledge, who's received the highest civilian honor from both Israel and Egypt. That is amazing in itself. Yet the Nobel Committee says he did nothing to warrant getting a peace prize. They're just such frauds, total frauds. I mean, you can't even take people like that seriously. And I've been saying that ever since they gave Yasser Arafat a peace prize. He gave the most notorious terrorist possible a peace prize. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, everything gets politicized anymore, I think. Now, what is this Holden put in here? Are you surprised? China has police stations in the interior of the United States. Now, I've heard this before, that they have actually these illegal police operations in like places like New York City and stuff. Have you ever heard anything about this?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very well of this. Very, very well aware of this. I was among those who exposed this well over a year, or almost 2 years ago now, that the Chinese are running police operations in multiple countries around the world to silence critics of their country who are Chinese nationals, and to hunt them down and arrest them and kidnap them out of the country if necessary to prosecute them. They're operating here, and nothing is being done about it. We have Brandon Johnson's freaking out over the National Guard coming to Chicago, but he doesn't care about Chinese or running police operations there.
So when we say police stations, it's not like a badge and a uniform. It's men in suits, basically in a warehouse or something, where they're monitoring and surveilling Chinese members of society here in the United States. That's what you're telling me?
Yes, it's men in suits. The men in black.
Ooh, hey, you forgot your mind eraser thing.
That's right. Yeah, here, look at this. No. So basically, what it is there's Chinese operatives, intelligence operatives, law enforcement operatives who have a building somewhere they've rented, and they run They run investigations and police operations and surveillance on dissidents and people who say things about China. And there's nothing to stop them from, kidnapping people. It's easy to kidnap people if you're rich and powerful. All you have to do is have a plane on an airfield, a private plane. And you just stick somebody in the back of it. No one inspects that dang thing. You give them a fake manifest and you give it to the tower and you're in the air. Next stop, China. Yeah.
So they wouldn't be just general U.S. citizens. So you're talking about people from China that come from China, or just anybody?
Well, the information I've been able to uncover on this over the past years through open source is that it's Chinese nationals are going after. But once they illegally operate police operations and spy operations in your territory, what's to stop them from going after your citizens and become a thorn in their side? Nothing. I mean, we're tolerating this. I mean, we're tolerating all kinds of crap from China. It's time that someone do something. Trump is doing some things, but it needs to happen faster.
He can't do it all. He's not going to do it all in 4 years.
No, no, of course not. We need other countries to do it, but they're all complicit with the Chinese because they're all making money. And so they don't care what China does to the world. But China is in really bad shape. They are desperate. That's why they're striking out at the world and trying to use protectionist measures and threatening people with military force, because China is on the way down. It's no longer an ascending power. All this BS talk about China overtaking America, its economy be bigger than America by the year 2010, by the year 2015, 20, 25. And still our economy is well over 34 trillion a year, and they've just reached 19 trillion, but the brakes are on. They're slowing down. Their population is declining. Their cities are polluted. Their countryside is weak. They have no food. They rely on food imports heavily, and they have no energy. They have lots of energy, but not nearly enough for what they need. And so China is in bad shape here. And these are the dying, thrashing movements of a Leviathan that is on the downward trend. I've been saying this for several years, predicting what was going to happen, and now it is happening. And I've been consistent on that, but people don't want to hear it. China, China, China. I'm like, no, don't lose sleep over China unless you're worried about their espionage or you're worried about their military threats. Other than that, China will not be a threat. They are in trouble, and they were going to have to eventually kiss the ring at some point. And we're approaching that stage.
Well, they're losing the working population, aren't they?
Well, yeah, because of the stupid one-child policy. China's population at the current rate, even though they implemented a two-child policy, and now they're going for a three-child policy by 2030, even though they implemented that, they waited too long. It's too late. China's population, about 1.4 billion, will be only 633 million by the year 2050. Or 2100, yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's going the other direction.
So they've depopulated quite well, because they were like half the world's population at one time, and I think India took that over. Well, I know about half, but they'd be a most populated country, and they were the largest, and but yeah, they're downsizing rapidly.
Well, I wouldn't call it downsizing. They're just shrinking, and they're shrinking faster in Japan. Here's the other thing. By, I think it's 2050, something like 38% of the population or 40% of the population will be over the age of 60 in China. Those people aren't working in factories. Those people aren't producing. Those people are consuming for the most part. There are exceptions. But when you have that many people at that age, you have a pyramid population, a population pyramid that's in trouble. You need lots of young people to enter the workforce and to produce goods and services and to pay taxes in order to support a population. And that's a problem all over the world. One exception in the developed world is the United States, where our population is increasing, but mostly because of in-migration and illegal migration. So, yep. China.
So how about that Letitia James?
Oh, she's a hottie.
She got caught harboring a fugitive in her house in Virginia.
Oh, the one that's her secondary residence. It's actually a rental property. She never lived in it, and she's committed mortgage fraud. That one.
Yeah, and then now to come to find out, she was housing her grandniece, who's wanted in North Carolina, and it's misdemeanor charges. It's not a big deal. It's not like this is a big felonist or something, but it's not something to North Carolina stated, but it's nothing to extradite her for. We're not going to extradite her because it's a misdemeanor crime. But at the same time, she's an attorney general in the state of New York, harboring a fugitive at her home that is in question because of her mortgage fraud. This just gets better and better.
I guess, if there's an outstanding warrant for the woman, she would be a fugitive. But I wouldn't be. That's not something that even rises my attention. What rises my attention is that she lied. She committed fraud on the banks, and someone suffered. She got a conviction for Donald Trump for a crime that does not exist, claiming that someone was harmed, and then a $355 million judgment against him, which is being appealed because it's excessive. And she actually hurt someone. Nobody was hurt by Donald Trump, the Trump organization. They borrowed money from Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank did not preclude another loan from being made as a consequence. Deutsche Bank agreed to what the value of the assets were. The Trump organization made the loan, paid the loan off on time, and Deutsche Bank made money. And they said that we welcome and love to have the Trump organization as a client. They're among their best clients we have. So who was harmed? If someone had been prevented from getting a loan, you could say that party. But there's no one to give the money to. It's just stealing from the Trump organization by giving this judgment because no one's being made whole by the judgment. The purpose of a judgment in a civil case is to make the other party whole. There's no party that needs to be made whole because no one's been harmed. Not even the state has been harmed. This is just fraudulent. She actually harmed other people. She got a loan that someone else wouldn't get because she lied and got a lower interest rate and saved $20,000 and then rented the property out in a scam because it's not supposed to be a rental property. It's supposed to be your residence. So she actually did, the Democrats do this all the time. Everything they accuse Trump of, oh, you're racist. Well, look in the mirror because that's what you are. Oh, you're a convicted felon. No, you're the felons and the convictions are coming. So just hold on your hat. It's pathetic. She did exactly the actual crime that she had Trump charged with that he never committed.
The New York house wasn't her that had the house in New York City or something. It was like 5 or 6 unit apartment. She claimed it was a 4 and she was married to her father just to get the loan.
Letitia James, I don't know about that.
I remember something about it. We'll just call that a speculative.
Well, if that's true, that just shows a pattern of criminal conduct.
Yeah.
Not just a one-off.
We have. This is the level of corruption.
And the left tries to dismiss it, John. Oh, do you really think the Attorney General in New York would commit fraud for $600 a month? Yes, because she did.
Yeah,
it's 20,000.
Wait a minute. Allegedly, she's been indicted, but she hasn't been found guilty of it yet. So we'll go with allegedly on it. But
I have seen the indictments. They have the paperwork. There's no allegedly to it. People could say that in the media, but the reality is that she's been charged with it.
This is WSMN here. We got to protect the integrity of WSMN now.
The views and opinions of the host on this program do not necessarily reflect those of WSMN. That's stated up front. So, okay, they'll be okay.
All right. Yeah, you got a good point. There was a disclaimer.
And if Letitia James has time to come after me, then she's really desperate for attention.
She's not going after anybody at the moment. Her butt's in a sling. I'm surprised she even has a job in New York.
Well, I mean, she shouldn't have a job. She's a total fraud. She ran on one issue. We'll get Trump, which she did without even him breaking the law. It's pathetic beyond belief. It's funny to listen to this, to the day of the triumph that the Gaza war ends after Biden did nothing but fuel a war, after nobody in the West did anything. Donald Trump comes in and he gets this thing to end. And on the day that everyone should be celebrating, what are the Democrats doing? Getting behind the camera going, Barack Obama, well, the guy who followed me in office has done everything opposite me. It's antithetical to me, and it's a threat to democracy. What are you talking about? He lost an election supposedly, and he left peacefully. He won an election. He's back. Get over yourself, Barack. Good Lord. And then they're all like this. All these Democrats trying to talk about things that are not germane. They're irrelevant to what's going on here, when they should be talking about this huge victory. John Fetterman had the courtesy and the good moral sense to say the right thing. Bill and Hillary Clinton congratulated Donald Trump. Shocker there. Yep. But Joe Biden had, but Joe Biden, of course, tried to take credit for it. Well, it was all possible because all the work that we did. No. The work you did was useless. Trump started from scratch, and look where he got in just a few months. So I find it particularly obnoxious and annoying that the left turns their attention to things that are non sequiturs instead of focusing on the real thing here. The real thing here is Trump ended yet another war. Now, it may not last, but that's not the point. No one could stop the guns. Trump stopped the guns after 2 years.
Yeah, well, that's why the left is falling apart. Because they're doing just that. They're making claims and they're diverting all the time. And when real things are happening, and we're seeing real things happening with real successes with Trump, and they're just acting like it never happened. That's like you were talking about Barack Obama sitting there acknowledging this peace deal that was just brought in between Israel and Hamas, and he never mentioned Trump. He's like, oh, that's a really good thing. Like, it wasn't Trump. It was, so he acknowledges it, but he doesn't want to acknowledge Trump in it.
No, they don't want to give Trump credit for any of this stuff. And then when he does accomplish things, they try to act like it didn't happen. Well, Trump negotiated peace, but the peace in the Congo is fragile. The armies are ready to get each other's throat. Well, armies at each other's throat all the time. Look across the border between Pakistan and India. For 70 years, they've been at each other's throats. That's just a stupid thing. look, I even said this in my commentary on a video that I did when this agreement was done on the day it happened a couple of days ago. And I said, look, Trump has accomplished amazing things here in short order. Now, there's no guarantee that this peace agreement will hold in Gaza, nor the one in the Congo will hold. It may very well break, but no one in 30 years has been able to end the conflict even for a day in the Congo. And Trump ended it a couple months ago, and it's still ended for the moment. So whatever the case is, quit quibbling and nitpicking about things that haven't happened with supposition. They use supposition to besmirch Trump. How about besmirching him with things that he actually did wrong, not things that haven't happened? They live in a fantasy world, concocted in their own tiny little pea brains. I think that if we went to the frozen food section of our local supermarket and got a bag of frozen bird's eye peas, we would find that those represent the intellectual capacity in the cranium individually of many members of Congress and of our government. In fact, I can see, look, here's a P, AOC. Here's a P, Rashida Tlaib. Here's a P, Jazzy Crockett. And, that's their entire intellectual capacity in a bird's eye bag of frozen peas.
There you go.
Well, that's a free advertising for Bird's Eye. I don't eat their stuff. I eat Del Monte.
Yeah, get Democrat brains in a bag, folks. Bird's Eye.
Brains in the bag. There you go. It's Democrat brains in a bag. Democratic brains in a bag. And you know what? We're going to have a hashtag for that. Hashtag go to Gaza. They love it so much. Go to Gaza.
So it seems to me that the longest period of peace or time of peace for Israel was between 79 and 86, I think. Was probably the longest period, but it seems like
is that true? Didn't they invade Lebanon in 82? I thought they invaded Lebanon in 82.
Ooh, I'm not sure.
I think they did. When did Israel invade Lebanon?
I think you're right, because I think it was Lebanon was shooting rockets across over them, right? And then they went and invaded them.
Yep.
Crap. So that shut that all. My point was going to be that was the only time we've had any real peace there. It seems to me every maybe 6 months is a long time for peace over there for Israel. I mean, these people live under cannon fire all day, every day for pretty much their whole lives.
It was 1982.
All right. So there was a period of time. It's been a couple of years. It was probably the longest period of time that they've actually had some peace. But all in all, my point is, like I said to Billy last night, he says, okay, so we got peace in Israel. I'm like, well, that should be good for 2 weeks.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, think about it. Yeah.
Crazy. That's the problem with this is it might not be Hamas this time. It could be Lebanon. It could be the Houthis. It could be anybody. It could be Iran anymore. You never know who's going to attack Israel. It's like a crapshoot, or they might just do it all at once.
No, you're right. But at the bottom line with all this is that whatever the outcome, there's peace now. But look what Hamas has done. Before the ink was even dry, before the Israelis had even completely pulled out, they began attacking other Palestinians, and they rounding up Palestinians, torturing them, and executing them in public executions. Trump has warned them.
These were anti-Hamas agents there that, there were families or clans of people that didn't like Hamas and wanted to be in power, so now they just executed them.
Well, yeah, and my point is that people talking about Israel being bad invading force, how many people are probably alive today because Israel was there to prevent Hamas from murdering them during the occupation?
But that's the mentality of these people. We let some of these people into our country, believe it or not. We keep open borders, and they're flowing across the borders like it's no big deal. They're living among us now. These people don't mind putting other people down. They don't bat an eye about it. We want to know why people are being raped. We've seen it in Europe time and time again where these women were being raped and killed and tortured and all sorts of stuff.
No, absolutely. But the point here is when you talk about we let them in our country, yeah. And a perfect example of that is Rashida Tlaib. Rashida Tlaib was born in this country. Why? Because we let her parents come into this country. We gave them succor. She was born to working class Palestinian immigrants in Detroit who came here. And she was born in 1976. And this evil spawn has no regard for this country, hates Christians, hates men, hates white men, hates Trump, ran only on the idea that she would help impeach Trump. And she got elected. And here's the scary thing. The district that she represents is 40% Hispanic, 25% Black, 30% non-Hispanic white Americans, and only 2% Arabs. So it's not Arabs who are responsible for the vile, repulsive, America-hating Rashida Tlaib. It's white folks, Hispanics, and Blacks who put her in office.
Yep. Yeah. Happens, man. I mean, I can't believe the number of people that supported Barack Obama when he was going in office. I'm like, well, don't you see this guy? Don't you see what he's made of?
I listened to what Barack Obama said, and he said on his campaign, I want to fundamentally change America. And I heard him. And I said, nope, 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 nope. And well, people didn't listen. And the funny thing is, they keep talking about America being racist, but who do they think voted for Barack Obama? Only 11% of the voters are actually black. They didn't elect him. White folks elected him. Yeah. And then when they didn't vote for him after saying what a useless, feckless piece of human feces he is, they didn't vote for him for re-election. Suddenly white people are racist because 6 million people didn't vote for him a second time who were white. These people are just shameless. No, people aren't racist. Barack Obama is just a charlatan, and we've known it all along. Some of us.
I've asked a lot of people after Obama was reelected, why? After you saw what he was after 4 years, why did you reelect him? He goes, well, what choices did you give me? It was Obama or Romney. No, at that time it was Romney.
Oh, the second time. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And so, the response was, Romney's a corporate man. At least I know what I got with Obama.
Well, my response is a doorknob would be better. So whoever the other guy is.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for Romney, and I'm not a big fan of Romney.
No, I can't stand Romney. I never liked him. I thought I was shocked that he was the candidate for president. That was beyond comprehension. McCain made sense. Not that I liked it, but it made sense how he rose to that level. But Romney is still shaking my head.
Well, there's a school of thought running around that corporations are running this country, and they play both sides of the aisle. And sometimes you get these choices of bad or just a little bit better,
Well, I mean, there's lots of schools of thought. Several years ago, someone claimed that Elon Musk said that we don't really exist. We're all just a virtual game being played by aliens in another galaxy.
Did he really? Because I never heard that.
It was on the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, the Big Bang Theory. Okay. Now it's starting to make sense.
Yeah. Anyway, but I mean, look, there's ideas and complaints and conspiracy theories like backsides. Everybody's got one. So who knows the merit to it. But Trump has warned Hamas, they're after executing people. And Hamas said, if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. It will happen quickly and perhaps violently, but they will disarm. Wow. He says if it comes down to force, if I don't have to explain it to you, but if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games. Ooh, Trump.
No, I think he's really reached his boiling point, and I think that's what it's with Russia right now. Russia has been reluctant to come to the table, and I think he's pretty much looked at Putin and he's like, you know what, we might just deliver some tomahawks. In fact, he's supposed to meet Zelensky here with the next couple of days, I believe, and he just put it out there. He didn't promise anything. He kind of put it out there, like nudged a little bit, going, it's possible tomahawks may be coming that way, and that's kind of a big deal to say that.
Delivering tomahawks. Would that be for the Washington Redskins? I mean, football team?
I don't know about that. I think I saw them playing the Eagles here recently. And what did they have now? A big W on the side of their helmets? They're no longer
a big W for loser on the side of their helmet. Instead of having an iconic image of a proud Native American.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So did you see that the Pentagon press pool picked up stakes and left? Yes, after turning in their press credentials, journalists covering the Defense Department walked out rather than comply with its restrictive new policies. They all took their toys and went home. CBS News dismantled its private little studio there, and they're just like a bunch of children throwing their toys out of the pram. They didn't like the rules, so they left. So let me throw my hat in the ring for the Department of War press room. I would like a press pass. I'm a real journalist, not a crybaby who doesn't get their way, and I will comply. These idiots think that it's perfectly appropriate for them to wander around aimlessly in the Pentagon when they're not employees of the Pentagon. No. When they don't have security clearance. No. They can just wander and ask anybody any question anytime. No. There's national security issues here. They don't like that. So they're taking their toys and they're throwing me out of the pram. Good riddance. I'll be happy to sign up.
Wow. I don't even think you go to somebody's place of business and do that, do you? I mean, you don't just walk into somebody's place of business, start wandering around asking questions and stuff. You contact their media representative or public relations representative, and you talk to that person.
Well, you would think, but today's journalists behave as if they work for the National Enquirer circa 1976, as if they should be on the checkout counter, the rubbish right there. Back then. So the thing is, it's not just that. I mean, you go to the family that went to Idaho, the South African refugees. They went to the refugee center and they were told to get out. because it's private business. They're identifying refugees whose family could be at risk in Sudan or in Iraq or Afghanistan, or in this case, South Africa. But the irresponsible behavior of the New York Times, who went there, they're a journalist, and when she was kicked out, she sat outside and filmed outside the refugee resettlement agency. But she's on a public street, so they really couldn't do anything. But the police were called later on because that journalist followed the van that gives refugees rides back to their residences, because they come in there for cultural orientation and for training and for help with things for medical and Social Security, all sorts of stuff. So the center helps them, lots of people. And I've been through there. I've seen the pictures the kids hang up, the drawings from Sudan, kids from Sudan and from Afghanistan and from all over the world. Anyway, they followed this van home. And of course, the only refugee who happened to be white was the South African. So when the lady got out of her car at home, the van had been followed. Now they knew where the South Africans lived. So she camped out there and they walked up and down the street. And then she came over and she knocked on the door and wanted to talk to the husband. The husband said, "No, I'm not talking to reporters. Thank you. Leave." So she waited a bit and then she went over and knocked on the neighbor, who happened to be from Sudan, a previous refugee who had arrived and was in a duplex with him, and talked to the Sudanese refugee. And then the wife was in the back because they were in the backyard, and she was back there, and the journalist saw her over the fence and called her and asked a question, started asking her questions, never identifying herself as a journalist. And so the New York Times journalist is eliciting information and being dishonest and disingenuous. When the wife finally realized this must be a journalist, she says, "Are you from the media?" She says, "I'm from the New York Times." She says, "I'm not answering your questions. Go." So then she left, went back on the street, walked up and down the street, disturbing neighbors, wondering, who is this walking up and down the street? She approached their 12-year-old daughter, who was outside playing in the front yard, and started asking her personal questions about their status, who they were, about the refugees. And the girl ran into the house and said, "Mom, this woman's asking me questions." Came out and told her to leave. She didn't leave. Finally, somebody called the police for stalking. And before the police arrived, she departed. That's not journalism. And that's what these people are like. They're this little children that don't understand the rules of journalism, and they abuse it and behave people. And that's shocking. In the next hour, we'll talk about other things.
You got other things to talk about.
Oh, always. There's lots of stuff to talk about here. Candace Owens lost her lawsuit to get into Australia. Zohran Mamdani and his nonsense, his Islamization of the New York City, trying to bring back stupid programs to harm students, and so much more to talk about in the second hour, including King County, Seattle, hiring illegal aliens to be corrections officers.
Oh,
you can't make this stuff up, man. These people, they have no shame. They're hiring illegal aliens to be correction officers over prisoners in the King County Jail.
Wow.
Yep, that's the reality out there. And there's many other things to talk about here. So I don't know if you had any topics you want to get to in the second half, John, but if you do, we'll tee them up here in the second half and see how it goes.
We'll find something. Absolutely. I know LA County declares emergency over ice. Hopefully Todd will be in, and we'll get to hear from Todd a little bit too about what is going on. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. Top of the hour news coming at you. Stick around, listen to the news, and join us on the second hour.
WSMN 1590, WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. In Tennessee, officials have identified the remains of 14 of the 16 people who were killed Friday morning when a munitions plant exploded about 60 miles west of Nashville. Humphreys County Sheriff Chris Davis.
We're moving forward. We're going to continue to move forward with the investigation. The investigation is full force. It's at a snail's pace.
A fragile ceasefire in the Middle East. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz saying there are plans to resume fighting against Hamas if necessary. And bodies are being returned to Israel from Gaza. Israeli forensic specialists working to identify them as 19 hostages' bodies remain unaccounted for. A federal judge in San Francisco temporarily blocked the Trump administration from firing workers during the government shutdown. The Supreme Court hearing arguments in a case that would further gut the Voting Rights Act and strike down a provision that allows considering racial representation in drawing congressional districts. This is ABC News. It's the second day of a 4-day strike for more than 30,000 Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers on the West Coast who are seeking a 25% wage increase over 4 years.
These workers for Kaiser Permanente tell us that it's more than wages. They also want to be included in staffing language, alleging at times patients are being double and even triple booked. But Kaiser Permanente pushing back on that claim, saying they often exceed the mandated nurse-to-patient ratio, adding it's been working with the unions to provide competitive wages and are prepared to increase those wages 21.5% over the next 4 years.
ABC's Kenna Whitworth. A grand jury on New York's Long Island has indicted 63-year-old Richard Bilodeau for the rape and murder of 16-year-old Teresa Fusco in 1984. 3 men were convicted of her murder but were later exonerated. Nassau County prosecutors say multiple leads pointed to Bilodeau, and they matched DNA from a straw he used to DNA on Fusco's body. He's pleaded not guilty to murder. Dave Packer, ABC News.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gatecitymonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7141. That's 603-883-7141. Gate City Monument, memorials of distinction for people who care.
Gate City Monuments, memorials of distinction for people who care. I'm telling you, John, gonna meet Roger one day.
I should go down there and take a picture of Gate City Monument so I can put it on the screen right here while it's playing.
Look, folks, I'm not being facetious. That's a really nicely done commercial. And I don't live in the Nashua area, but if you're looking for that, that's probably a great service to go check out. Yeah, no, but I just love that. That's always the last one coming back when we get into our second hour, sometimes in the first hour. So always a distinct pleasure to listen to that Gate City Monument advert. So, John, we're back for the second hour. What's going on, man?
Yeah, we are. I see Courtney McBride joined us. Says that she's listening from Salt Lake City, Utah. Oh, I'm sorry, Courtney. I associate the name Courtney with females as a rule, but
no, it's okay. That's why I collected you real quick there. Courtney is a Navy reservist based in Salt Lake City.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you, Courtney.
And I was just out to see Courtney just a few weeks ago when I went out west, and gave me a wonderful tour of Salt Lake. I've been to Salt Lake City previously on a few occasions, but it's always nice to have a local. And he's a relocated local. He lived out on the left coast and lost his mind for a few decades. And he must have drank from the fountain of youth there with Ponce de Leon, never found. And he's back, and he's happy. He's living his best life ever and living in Salt Lake City. It's lovely out there. So congratulations. He has a big event coming up this weekend, and we wish him the very best.
So let's see, Chris. LA County declares emergency over ICE raids. The County Board of Supervisors declared a local state of emergency Tuesday in response to ongoing federal immigration enforcement raids, alleging the actions are preventing people from going to work and forcing some businesses to close. The Los Angeles Tenants Union Advocacy Group has been pushing the board for weeks to enact such a moratorium, saying that the raids are creating enough fear to prevent people from going to work or prompting businesses to temporarily close, leaving their employees unable to work. So
I don't understand what all the anger is about. I mean, if they don't like ice, they should get slushies,
yeah, I don't know what to tell you. You're hiring illegal people. I don't know what to tell you. If you can't find anybody legal to work, then you're going to have to work at getting them legalized to be within the United States of America. But the federal government has a right to enforce the laws. In fact, the president of the United States is the executor of law, meaning he executes the law. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. What's the problem?
Under the U.S. Constitution, the chief law enforcement officer of the nation is not the attorney general, but rather the president of the United States.
Yes.
So I don't know their issues. Did you see that there's a plot to assassinate conservative commentator Benny Johnson?
No.
That's crazy. George Isabel Jr. has been arrested and accused of threatening to make orphans of Johnson's children only days after the Charlie Kirk assassination. And this is just being exposed now. Benny's well-known media personality carrying a message very similar to Charlie's, grounded largely in faith and love of country. Just days after Charlie's assassination, Benny received a letter at his home where he and Kate are raising their beautiful young family, according to Attorney General Pam Bondi. The author of the letter made it very clear that he hated Benny because of views and he wanted Benny dead. This was a coward hiding behind a keyboard who thought he could get away with this. Well, no, you're not going to get away with threatening people in this way, Bondi said, adding that Isabel is being charged federally with mailing threatening communications. And Benny Johnson isn't taking a lying down either. He said to the parents out there, this is a movement that about ensuring that you can raise your kids in safety and security, whether it's from terroristic threatening of left-wing violence, which happened to me specifically in name of when this individual, George Isabel, said that he would blow my head off in an open field, just like Charlie Kirk, and watch my blood spatter on the concrete, or whether it's from terroristic threatening from homicidal criminals who get let out of jail time and again to scare you and your children out of the parks and off the streets. Wow. This is crazy stuff, man. There's some nut jobs out there. And they've been getting away with it for years, John, because no one took action.
Well, last year, I think we were talking about all the swatting going on against influencers on social media, Twitter and stuff like that. Well, no, X now. But they were being swatted and it was getting to be a real problem. Now they transitioned from swatting X users or influencers or people just generally talking that's got a great following, talking about conservative issues or policies and now they've transitioned from that to actually murdering somebody that's like, say, Charlie Kirk or, more high profile people.
Well, I mean, look, the thing is that if you're going to target someone, not that it's ever acceptable, but you think you'd target someone that presents a threat or calls for violence or disparages people. That wasn't Charlie Kirk. He was all about dialogue and, prove me wrong. That's what he said. And most people couldn't prove him wrong. And that's, this shows you their intellectual capacity. They attack him because they can't prove him wrong. And it's really, really sad, but it's the world we live in and it's full of dangerous people. And a lot of people don't want to admit that. They want to pretend it isn't real until something bad happens. And then they're all like, well, it's someone else's fault.
Well, the objective of doing such things is to try to silence like people like you and I, where we become fearful to come out here and publicly speak. It's not working, man. I feel like a fish in a fishbowl here. I'm in the turret of the Masonic building. It's like I got windows all around me, but I'm going to continue to talk until something happens. I'm not saying that I'm upsetting anybody or I'm that big of a deal. I don't expect I am. But when this starts happening, that's the objective, is that we would feel conspicuous and no longer want to speak.
Well, I mean, that's what a lot of this is. They want the rest of us silent because they don't like our views. And that's not what America's about. Protected speech is a speech we don't like. Silencing people don't like is not the answer. And murdering people is never the answer. Speaking of silencing people and possibly murdering, who knows? President Trump has made the unusual step of telling the public that he is authorizing covert operations into Venezuela on not simply blowing narco boats out of the sea. That's interesting. I mean, why the president would do that? The only one reason for it is to send a message to Venezuela, because the CIA agents are not going to be helped by the fact now everybody thinks every white person in Venezuela is a CIA agent.
Oh man. Oh, that's that's bad. But I get it.
They're going to look at every gringo and say, spy.
He's the one president that took the drug war seriously. He's the one president that says, drugs are ruining the United States of America. We're going to start putting an end to it. And he's used aggression to do it.
Well,
that's one of the things about
John,
Trump. He's not prone to violence. He doesn't like violence. He doesn't enjoy violence, but he will step up when need be.
John, people think that the left are losing their mind now because Trump is blowing up narco boats in the Mediterranean, in the Caribbean. Wait until we start shooting their planes out of the sky.
Oh.
Think about that one. That hasn't happened yet. That's coming. It's coming. Wait till we start shooting down planes. Man, they're going to really lose their mind then.
But yeah, no, that's that's why I've always been in favor of closing the borders. I don't like the idea of a border wall. To me, it's kind of it just seems distasteful. But there's a need. There's an absolute and total need. We've got to stop the drug trades. We've got to stop the muling. And the border wall was effective, or still is effective, because it's not just a big hunks of metal up in the air that build a wall or a fence, but we also have sensors, motion sensors, and things that alert Border Patrol that there's activity going on in case somebody does penetrate. So the whole thing is very effective, and it's beneficial to us because a lot of people don't understand. These drug dealers get kids to appeal to fifth graders. We're forcibly sending our kids to school. We're told we have to send our kids to school, and they're trying to capture them as young as fifth grade to get them hooked on drugs. Now, these will be clients for life. And so we got to stop this sort of nonsense. We can't subject our kids to this. We can't allow our kids to be victims to this. We can't allow our kids to be victims to human trafficking. We got to do something to stop drug cartels from infiltrating our country. And it goes deep. There are politicians. There's been known cases that we've heard. We've had a guest on the show that talked about it, Eddie Smith. And he talked about politicians where he learned while he was in prison that politicians are being bought by drug cartels and controlled. We've seen videos of a judge that was operating with drug cartels. They were staying in his home. They were shooting guns, fully automatic firearms, machine guns in his backyard out in the desert, so it's bad. And it takes somebody like Trump that's got the kahunas to stand up and say, no, enough is enough. And America is going to do something to change this. We're going to stop this now because we're better than that. It's time to be better than that.
Well, Trump confirmed this when asked the question by a reporter, which surprised me. But the reason he confirmed it is because, imagine this, the New York Times reported the classified directive. Once again, the New York Times is stealing classified information and reporting to the public, jeopardizing national security. Yep. And the strategy says that Trump has offered $50 million for information leading to Maduro's arrest and conviction on drug trafficking charges. Trump said he authorized the action because large amounts of drugs were entering the United States from Venezuela. So I guess we'll see how effective this is, blowing up boats and then doing operations inside Venezuela. Because if he is effective, the street price for these drugs will begin to soar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that price them right out so people can't afford it anymore. I mean, it's either you get your fix or you get help. It's time to go get help. I've known a lot of people around here where I live that got the help. It's not easy. I know it's not easy. Addiction stinks. I've actually taken painkillers that were prescribed and just one pill one time. And the next day I kept thinking about that pill. I chucked those, the rest of those, man, there's only like 11 pills left, but I chucked them. I'm like, no. We're not playing games with this stuff. So I understand it is highly addictive. You take one pill and that's all you can think about it the next day. Or the last time I had surgery and I woke up, I'm like, wow, I should have surgery more often. That was like the best sleep I ever have. It took me about 2 years to realize the reason why it felt so good is because they put me full of painkillers. So I didn't have pain when I woke up.
There you go. No, I remember that I had a staph infection when I was in Liberia. It was a lot of pain, suffering, and they gave me synthetic codeine. And codeine is not nearly as bad as opioids out there, but I took one synthetic codeine pill and felt really good. And that was the last one I took. I said, no. That's not normal. And so that's it. I know it's prescribed, but I'm done. Yep. Never took it again.
Yeah. I hope and pray people get cleaned up that need the help. I hope they get the help because it's worth it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Get it done. A lot of people turn their lives around. improve their lives, improve their situations, and live good lives now because they did.
Yeah, no, but drugs. We'll see if Trump's effort is successful, because as I said, the street price for these things will begin to climb rather quickly if the supply is cut off. They think cutting supply off is the answer. That definitely is an answer, but the demand is a real problem. People, why do they turn to these things? I mean, it's not easy to explain. Lots of reasons for it, but the easy solution is get off it. But the news tonight is that Trump has authorized the CIA to do operations inside Venezuela, which will not make Maduro happy. I guarantee you that much.
I'm surprised that's open news. I can't. Oh no, you said that was released.
Yeah, the New York Times released classified information. Once again, irresponsible so-called journalism, and Trump confirmed it. So, but I mean, the cat was out of the bag, so Trump really didn't have a choice. But yeah. And now the Supreme Court is finally taking a look at the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which is racist. And of course, that's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings when I say it's racist, but it is racist. It forces the government to gerrymander to create fictional majority black districts on the idiotic assumption that black people will vote for black people. They just reduce people to their skin color, and it's morally wrong. It disenfranchises the majority of the population, and we see a wildly overrepresented number of black members of Congress as a consequence of it, particularly in the Democratic Party in the House.
I always remember, folks, government is never the solution. So I see Chris is typing over there. So something I pulled up here recently, Chris, was Alex Jones was declined his appeal of roughly $1.4 billion defamation judgment he owes for falsely claiming the Sandy Hook Elementary school shooting was a hoax. I can't believe that guy owes $1.4 billion because he said it was a hoax. I mean, don't you have freedom of speech anymore in this country? You can't speak your piece or your opinions. I mean, was that not the same sort of lawfare they pulled on Donald Trump? I mean, because that was $1.4 billion sounds like an excessive amount of money to be penalized.
Yeah, it's just insane. First off, the whole case is ludicrous to begin with. So people are suing a social media commentator because he said what happened didn't happen.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Why are you even worried about that? This is opportunism, and it's an effort to silence Alex Jones. I'm not a fan. Don't find him all that interesting. His gravelly voice really gets kind of old after about 30 seconds of listening to it. But, this is something that never should happen. It's a miscarriage of justice. If he did something wrong, a few $1 million might be appropriate, but $1.4 billion. The intent here is to destroy InfoWars, and that's what's happening. That's what they've achieved here. So Alex Jones, tough break, but I don't know why he kept harping about it. It was fictitious and where that came from. If anything, the guy needs mental help and thinking it wasn't real. So I don't. The whole genesis of this case, the whole execution of it, is just the whole thing is suspicious for me.
There's a theory that they move around these what do they call them, disaster actors or whatever they're, grief actors, and that a lot of people have been pointed out saying, wait a minute, we saw this guy crying, it was their daughter over here, then we saw this guy crying, it was their daughter over there, and it's the same guy. And so they think they have these grief actors running around every time there's a tragedy like this. So people started thinking it was a hoax, and so that's basically, I think, I don't follow Alex Jones, but what I'm putting together here is I think he was looking at it going, it was a hoax in that regard, that they were fooling people with these grief actors. And I think he got taken out of proportion and stuff. And some dad or something got upset and sues him for $1.4 billion. I think it was more class action, but just the same, that's excessive.
It is beyond excessive, because what damages, who in the world had $1.4 billion inflicted against them? It's just ludicrous. Yeah, so they rejected his appeal. The InfoWars host argued the judge was wrong to find him liable for defamation, infliction of emotional distress without holding a trial on the merits of allegations lodged by relatives of the 6 victims of the shooting. Yep. The justice did not comment on an order which they issued without even asking the family of Sandy Hook to respond. So, anyway.
Yeah, they were trying to take away his business. I think they wanted to confiscate his business and liquidate it out for some of the settlement, which isn't anywhere near worth $1.4 billion by any means, not even a small portion of it, maybe a few $1 million or something. He's got notoriety. I don't know if he can start another business or not, or if they just take that away from him too, but I think, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce his name right. Nicci McCormick, Nikki. Is it?
It's Nikki, her name.
All right. But yeah, she says not destroy InfoWars, take over it, capturing successful media companies. And yeah, that's what it's about. Shut them down. Alex Jones has been known to speak truth, but he's also been known to been caught off guard where he said things that didn't turn out to be like he had bad informants. So
bad sources.
Yeah, and I know that because he was a regular on Coast to Coast AM, which I listened to frequently back in the day. So that's where I know Alex Jones from, and he used to get
Alex Jones
on
was
that
on Coast to Coast
as a guest. So he would call
Oh,
in as a
okay.
guest or something, or he would call in and give reports or whatever. Or they'd have him come in, and you're like, "Oh yeah, so let me catch you up on what's going on over here," And he would talk about things, and elaborate on things, and give him a quick rundown and be gone. 15, 20 minutes sometimes, or sometimes he was there for quite some time. But one time he got called out, because it was Art Bell. Art Bell's not going to BS around. If you did wrong, you did wrong. It's like, oh, goes, well, yeah, I was a bad informer. I can't. Sometimes, his information just doesn't come in. So he said, but I did make the correction. I did make the correction. So, and so it happens, I guess. But
well, for me, I vaguely remember Art Bell from back in the day. But for me, the name that resonated most when I was listening to Coast late at night, traveling around the country, was George Norrie. And then briefly, it was also John B. Wells.
John B. Wells was a guest host many times for Art Bell, as was, I can't think of her name now. She's out of Philadelphia. She was a great guest host. I really liked her a lot. And apparently not too much because I can't think of her name. And Raleigh James was on there. And he had quite a few of them. And George Norrie was too. And so when Art Bell was giving it up, he had quite a few people to pick from to take it over, and he settled on George Norrie. It was one person was going to take it over, and then Art Bell came back, and then ultimately George Norrie won it or was awarded the show.
Well, George Norrie always kept my attention. I mean, to me, honestly, a lot of it's just outrageously outlandish. It's entertaining, but for me, it was entertainment, and I enjoyed it. So, but George Norrie was fantastic listening to on that program. I really, really enjoyed it.
But awesome. I gotta tell you, when Art Bell was doing it, he used to refer to it, ladies and gentlemen, this is the cutting edge of news. But he wasn't lying, because I'm telling you, I heard things on his show, and 4 years later, I can't give you exact for instance, but 4 years later, it's coming into mainstream media, and everybody's hooting and hollering, going, oh my God, I don't believe it. I'm going, oh, that's old news. I know, because I heard it on Art Bell.
Well, yeah. To me, it was nice because the thing is, you're traveling across the country. Well, you're in the truck industry. Me, it was just moving back and forth across the country or doing things late at night, or being a remote place like living out in the desert. Signals skip wave. You pick up stations. I'd be driving, I'd be listening to it, and I'd lose a station because it's just whatever the atmospherics. And then I'd search on the dial, and a few miles later, I pick it up, and I'm listening to the same program, but in 4 states away because of the skip wave.
Yeah. Well, 1100 out of Cleveland, Ohio was one I used to pick up a lot.
Okay.
And you could hear that in various parts of the country. Yeah, it seemed like it got a lot of reach. It's like 50K or something.
Yeah, 50,000 watts. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a big radio station. I think 50,000 is max here in the United States.
I believe that's the case, but it's interesting because, like I say, at night you've got radio wave, especially amplitude modulation, which will bounce off the earth and it'll carry for a long distance, and then you pick it up. I mean, if you think about the science of radio waves, I mean, that alone should beggar the imagination. Just fascinating how they actually work. But yeah, amplitude modulation, and you get that skip wave. I mean, it's fascinating. I used to listen to radio stations all over the world. I picked up radio stations in Scandinavia sometimes just because of skip wave. Pretty wild.
Yeah, it can happen. Depends too on atmospheric conditions. So
yes,
when the sun is
out,
go ahead.
Sorry, somebody asked if I picked them all the way from South Africa. Not so much. I'm not going to pick up from South Africa because the oceans will dissipate it. That's also in the southern hemisphere. It doesn't really come this way. The reason that you pick them up from Scandinavia is because of ice flows and such. So you get a solid surface that it bounces off of and continues across and works its way across the northern hemisphere. It can go across water and bounce across that, but it tends to dissipate and absorb a lot of it. So now it's you can pick up shortwave from all over the world. That's for sure. I've done that before too.
Oh yeah, shortwave's good stuff. Nikki, again, yeah, I love entanglement theory. I love quantum mechanics or quantum physics and the theories behind them. That's awesome stuff. If you get into it.
Yeah, if you're into it. It's the thing on the radio thing though is fascinating is that radio was supposed to die. Television was going to kill off. It didn't. It suffered for a while, and it was on the verge of going away. But you know what saved talk? Just I gave it away. You know what saved radio? AM radio. Talk.
Talk, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I gave
it
away.
wasn't just talk, but a lot of people spend a lot of time in their vehicles too.
Yeah,
or they're in the garage tinkering, and the radio's great because you got it on here in the in your garage while you're working on the car, and you can listen to it while you're working on your car. But it's more versatile.
Yeah, and it also can go further distances than FM radio. You have to put a lot more power because it's line of sight with FM. But the reason that AM radio survived is primarily because of talk radio. The quality of music sucks on AM radio because it's distorted, because it's hugging the ground, and it gets degradation. So the voice, it's less demanding when it comes to the signal. And so talk radio became interesting, and it saved AM radio. And who was the architect? One of the big people, not behind some grand conspiracy, but just his talent on the air, sitting behind the golden EIB microphone. Rush Limbaugh almost single-handedly saved talk radio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. And then all these other people came along, G. Gordon Liddy, and then of course Mark Levin, and then all these leftists came on too. But Rush Limbaugh was the OG. He was the guy that when AM radio was dying, his talk radio began to revive it. And Sean Hannity came on there, and just the list goes on and on. And that's what a lot of people listen to. If they're not listening to Mexican radio stations in America on AM radio, they're listening to talk radio by and large.
Well, Mexico's got different laws in the United States, and that's why one of the reasons why Wolfman Jack was so big, right? Wasn't he carried out of the one over there by El Paso or something? And because it was on the state line, it would carry all the way to California because they could be running like 100,000 watts or something.
I'm not sure how high the Mexican ones are, but yeah, no, it's it's funny because in 1990, when the World Cup was going on for Soccer World Cup, I was of course rooting for Germany, which had German players on it. Unlike today, there are no Germans on the team. They're from Africa and Poland and everywhere else. But back then they were all Germans, and I was rooting for them in the World Cup in 1990. And I would turn the television on, and the American stations would have the game on, but it'd be like. And so Johnson passes the ball at midfield to Smith. There's a nice little cut move there. And the ball, as they move upfield here, the Americans have a good chance to score. The last time America scored against Mexico was 1926. And whereas I don't speak Spanish very well at the time, but you put on the Spanish channel. Oh, the Mexicans, man, they get all excited. And I'm like, well, suddenly this is very exciting. It's not such a boring game. I turn the American TV on. I'm like, anyway, so.
Yeah.
They have a way of making it entertaining, even if you don't understand a word. It's like rugby broadcast in South Africa. So if you listen to rugby broadcasters, most of them, they might be good broadcasters and enjoyable, but they're not really excited. But when you listen to the language broadcast in Xhosa, one of the languages spoken in South Africa, those guys that do it are always fantastic and animated. I enjoy that, even though I have no idea what the heck they're saying.
I remember my father watching golf. It's like, wow, that'll put you to sleep.
When I was a kid, Jack Nicklaus was in his heyday, Craig Stadler, all these other guys. And the Walrus, a huge Jack Nicklaus fan. I was living in Ohio, and Jack is from Ohio. And so I absolutely enjoyed watching golf when I was a kid. The British Open, the PGA Championship, the Masters. I enjoyed it. I even watched
tennis. So you followed golf?
I did in high school. And then when I was in junior high school, I loved watching it. And but I'd never played. I mean, this poor white kid didn't have any clubs. First time I ever played golf was actually at Fort Gordon when I was in advanced individual training. Had the Saturday off. I took a cab ride over to the golf course because they had these cabs that trolled up and down the post for 50 cents or whatever. You get a trip because there's so many soldiers trying to get around. Went over to the golf course, came in, walked in, and said, "Can I play here?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Well, I don't have any clubs." So I said, "We have clubs for rental," but they didn't have any left-handed clubs. So the first time I ever played, I rented right-handed clubs and purchased a couple balls in the pro shop, and I went out and I played around 18 holes by myself. First time I ever played golf, right-handed, and I'm left-handed. And
I never knew you were left-handed. I only heard evil people are left-handed, but
no. I'm all those things. I'm a unicorn, man. I'm left-handed. My blood type is one that only 6% of the population has. Only 18% of males are left-handed. Only about 14% of the total population is actually left-handed. Yeah, no, I'm kind of a unicorn. So
yeah, my wife is left-handed too. That's why I made that statement, because we were joking about that years ago.
Yeah, no, it's left-handed men outnumber left-handed women 3-1, left-handed women is a very unusual thing. But oddly, I've met so many left-handed women, maybe because the topic comes up frequently, but they are a small percentage population, whereas left-handed men are a little bit higher. But overall, I think we're total is about 18% of the population is left-handed. But it's a very biased world. Scissors are made incorrectly for us. Writing pads are made incorrectly. Writing implements are made so that our palms get ruined in the paper. It's very frustrating for left-handers. You have to learn.
Writing. I remember watching left-handers trying to write, and so my wife has to write with the right hand because she was taught that way because she went to Catholic school as a child, and they forced her, and she has the hardest time writing, but now she cannot write left-handed.
Well, and my handwriting is atrocious in no small measure because I got smacked, for using my left hand in a public school when I was a kid. But the thing is, because this is the theory, an idea, a concept. I think that because left-handers have to adjust to a right-handed world, we're much more adept at change, much more adept at adjusting to circumstances than people who are right-handed, generally speaking, because everything is set up for them. And the world is easily regimented to the benefit of right-handed people, but not to left-handers. And so we have to be, have the ability to be chameleons and change with our environment. Otherwise, we suffer. And so I think that, honestly, that's one reason why you tend to have more left-handed presidents and why you tend to have more, there's a higher percentage in our population, successful people who are left-handed, because we have to overcome a lot to achieve. Whereas for right-handers, life's easy, man. They hand it to you, literally.
Literally. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You have to kind of retrain yourself and adapt and kind of rewire your brain, really, when you think about it, because your brain's wired for left side or left hand. So you're kind of rewiring yourself.
Well, I wouldn't say rewiring. We're expanding in a way that right-handed people don't have to do. We're forced to use parts of our physical ability and our brain power, connecting those two things and impulses in ways that people right-handed will never have to do. And so I think it makes us much more adept. That's
what I mean by rewiring your brain, because you have to adapt to that environment. But
well, and this presents a problem with firearms, So for instance, in basic training, the M16 rifle, when you put that thing in your left-handed and you bring it up on your left shoulder, the chamber kicks the bolt back and the casing comes straight back. Well, straight back when the rifle is on your left side instead of over here on your right, it just kicks out away from you. But when the rifle's over here, guess where that casing comes?
Oh, you better have some safety glasses on because you might catch it in the eye. Yeah.
Right into your face. Typically hits me in the cheek right here, and it burns because those casings are hot from firing around. That's a controlled explosion inside a firearm. People need to remember that. The bullet doesn't magically get there. You have an explosion that causes it to take off. So it's hot. I was at basic training for the range in wintertime where we had pop-up targets out to 300 meters and we're wearing field jackets, and the field jackets were new because we hadn't been in the Army that long. They were kind of stiff. So the sleeve, the right here would in the front by my wrist would be stiff. And so the solution that the Army came up with for left-handed people is create this little piece of plastic, hard plastic, called a brass deflector. And what it does, it's an L-shaped thing, and it pops into the upper handle with a little ball bearing, and then it blocks the round. So when the bolt comes back, it hits this, and then it drops or it flies sideways. Well, that's all fine and dandy, except that sometimes the bolt comes back so hard, it kicks the brass forward. Well, if you're sitting there with the rifle like this, and you've got your sleeve, for the audience, that what I'm showing is my right arm extended, my left arm holding back on the trigger housing of a non-existent rifle. As I fire, the round ricochets off the brass deflector, and instead of falling to the ground, shoots forward, and the hot brass drops right down my sleeve to burn my wrist. It sounds funny now, but on a cold January morning at Fort Leonard Wood with snow all over the place, you're freezing in a foxhole with frozen ground, and you're shooting a rifle at targets, shivering, and that brass drops down there. It's not a fun time. I'm telling you that much. Not a fun time.
You do a certain kind of dance, right? Trying to get it out of there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're like shaking your hand, like, can I get it? And you can't, you still got to acquire targets. You don't want to not qualify and have to come back out in the cold the next day and do it again. So, but anyway, I qualified as an expert marksman. So,
so basically you're telling me that deflector should have had more of an angle to it. It was kind of more blunt, so it allowed it to deflect forward instead of just take a glancing blow and shoot the brass cartridge out to the side.
Now, I think what should have happened is that the M16 should have been made with interchangeable bolts. so that you could have a port on both sides and you could lock one down and it ejects out the other side, kicks it back. So left-handers could fire the brass to go out the left side. I think that's what would have happened, but that would have been costly, but not prohibitively costly. So I prefer, an automatic weapon with a handgun. So not have to worry about that brass coming back on me. Yep.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to reverse that.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's being left-handed, has its challenges, but it's fine. It's never been a problem for me as a baseball player. It can be an inherent advantage, particularly if you are a pitcher. Most left-handers, just because of the nature of their throwing motion, have a natural curveball, and some of us have like really wicked curveballs as a consequences, particularly if you put a little effort into it. So when I pitched in Little League Baseball, I did have a wicked curve. I would bring it out and come down with a pitch, the ball released from my hand, and I wouldn't do anything to make it spin or anything, but just naturally because of the angle it swung through it, the ball would come and it would curve away from the batter. If I aimed one direction, it would curve into the batter if I went in another direction. It was pretty cool. And right-handers like sit there and try to twist the ball around and how to put a two-seam fastball and how do you put a curve on it, and they mess with it. And some of them were successful, many of them weren't. But for left-handers, it kind of becomes a natural thing, the arc of our pitch, which is kind of cool. So, I mean, I love pitching. The only problem is that I was abused from a standpoint that we only had one pitcher. Instead of someone else pitching, I had to pitch every day, and my arm turned to rubber that pitching season. It hurt a lot. I'll never forget that.
Oh. Yeah, I guess, when people are pitching, they really put a lot into it. You don't think about it, but they do.
Well, especially if you're 12, 13 years old and you're already throwing the ball at 80 miles an hour, that's pretty impressive. Adults throw it at 100 if they're really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So I see in California, California is always making the news, Former Democratic California Rep Katie Porter refused to say whether or not additional videos showing her delivering tirades against staffers or other existed during a Tuesday interview. Porter, who is running to replace Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, faced criticism after videos of her threatening to walk out of an interview and berating staffers surfaced. So imagine that, Chris, a Democrat being abusive to her staffers.
Well, Katie Porter's campaign is not going anywhere, so maybe this might be good press for us, better than no press. I mean, I'm just saying, yeah, it's going nowhere, going absolutely nowhere. It's really sad. So, by the way, we were talking. Oh, so good.
I was just gonna say you'd like to see somebody beat Newsom, but not her, a Republican, of course. But
is Newsom even running again? Is he even eligible? I don't know.
Honestly, I don't know. I kind of just assumed he could run undeterminedly. Maybe they do have a term limit on it. I don't know.
Just looking it up to see.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm just looking here. So 2026 gubernatorial race. I think he's term limited here, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of candidates here. My goodness. So the Democrats have Ethan Agarwal, Xavier Becerra, who's a former U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services and Attorney General in California.
Yeah, okay.
Carolina Butler, a UCLA student. Ian Calderon from the California Assembly. Stephen Klunebeck, Zoltan Istvan, Thunder Parley, Katie Porter, Raji Rab, Tony Thurman, Antonio Villagrosa, and Betty Yee. And then you have Alex Padilla and Tom Steyer, who both are interested in doing it. And then already we've had Tony Akins, Eleni Kaloulakis, and Fiona Ma, as well as Michael Younger, withdraw from the race. And then there's a number of people who have refused to run. That's Rob Bonta, LaFonza Butler, Kamala Harris, Matt Mahan, and Adam Schiff said they're not going to run. That's just Democrats. For the Republicans, there's a whole list of them too. Mel Gibson declined to run. Rick Grinnell declined to run. Kevin McCarthy declined to run. Grant Cardone and Jake Steinfeld has expressed some interest. But the declared candidates are Chi An, Chad Bianco. That's the Riverside County Sheriff. Sophia Brink, Sharifa Hardy, Steve Hilton, the political commentator, Brandon Jones, Kyle Langford, and Daniel Mercury, Jimmy Parker, David Serpa, Leo Zaki. It's just crazy. Then, of course, there's a Libertarian candidate. They declined. Green Party candidate declined. Peace and Freedom Party declined. And yeah. So that's a lot of people that have got their hat in the ring to be the governor of the Golden State, which in my view isn't so golden. Yeah, I think that Newsom is
It is
term
an
limited.
open seat. He went in 2019. They're restricted to 2 4-year terms. So
There you go.
he'll be up here this next coming election.
Right. So he'll be 26 and then leaves office in 27.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what happens. So anyway, but I don't know what Gruesom's Gavin Newsom's going to do next, but Shifty Schiff got the Senate seat, so he's not going to run for that. And he is not going to be president. So I guess he's going to find some way to keep himself busy until he can run for president.
Well, I'm kind of thinking he's not going to be the next president of the United States, because it looks to me like the politically right's got that wrapped up pretty good. If they keep going the direction they're going, people seem to be liking them. A lot of folks of minority status have been deviating from the Democrat Party and shifting to the Republican Party. So there's a good chance that maybe this next presidential election, things keep going well, we'll secure the GOP for at least 4 more years.
Well, it's a very real possibility, but you can't count your chickens before they're hatched, and you
of course not.
Have to plan on the worst. And I think that some people just get a little ahead of themselves. And I think that what we need to do is keep our eyes on the prize here and don't let the Democrats get a foothold on anything.
When it comes to politics, you never let up, ever.
That's right. You don't take your foot off the gas pedal. Yep.
Because you're right, things turn fast. And right now, the left is strategizing hard. And they do have strategy teams. Make no doubts about it.
So Eric Trump has come out with a book. Did you see that?
No,
Under Siege.
I didn't know. Really?
Yep. Eye-opening memoir. In this eye-opening memoir, Eric Trump relays surprising and gripping moments throughout his life and career as part of America's most powerful family. And then he talks about the raids on his childhood home, Mar-a-Lago, to near assassination attempts, Russiagate to cold and corrupt courtrooms. Yeah, it's this book has just come out. Is it out today? It came out today. Or no, yesterday. It came out yesterday, October 14th. So Eric Trump's Under Siege. Looking forward to reading it. John, are you there?
Yeah. I'm sitting there trying to look for another article here while you were talking about that. No, I would. I think sounds pretty interesting. But yeah, I'm looking here. Pritzker vowed that there will be reprisals against immigration and customs enforcement agents when his party regains political power. Anonymous warning that the abuses of the Biden era could return with a vengeance. Oh, right. It's already started with him. Sometimes I think he's well aligned with Antifa. And when you read some things people from Antifa are saying, you tend to believe that when they start saying, look at Pritzker, you need to follow what Pritzker's saying. It's got like, I wonder if there's some signaling back and forth here.
Well, I have a few thoughts for Ribs McFatty there. Ribs McFatty, that would, of course, be J.B. Pritzker, the privileged elite turd ball who inherited a fortune and accomplished nothing in his life. You keep threatening federal agents and you're going to find yourself wearing an orange jumpsuit. Federal agents are executing federal law. You might have missed this, genius, but there's something called the Supremacy Clause. And you can go around and pretend you're the grand poobah and dictator of the victims of Illinois all you want. But federal law trumps your garbage. And it is time to give Mr. Pritzker the perp walk for interfering with federal law enforcement and endangering the lives of federal agents. Cartels are now issuing $50,000 hit bonuses to kill federal agents, particularly CBS and ICE, or Customs and Border Patrol, CBP. This is insane. And this is being facilitated by people like Pritzker, who run their mouths and demonize federal agents doing their job. We should not tolerate this. That is not protected speech. These people are threatening federal officials. That is domestic terrorist threat. J.B. Pritzker should be at this hour tonight being arraigned in a courthouse in Chicago. The Trump administration needs to quit sitting on this and go after this criminal, because that's what J.B. Pritzker is. He's a criminal.
You get a lot of that out of Chicago. How come?
Well, there's something in the water there. Ever since Mr. O'Leary's cow knocked that lantern over and burned the damn city down, they must have put something in the water table.
It's possible. I think there's a lot of organized crime out of the Chicago area, and corruption come with it. And it just never seems to go away.
Well, there's a lot of organized crime in Washington. It's called the Democratic National Committee.
Yeah.
Just saying. Anyway, so let's get back to my favorite nail to hammer, and that is, of course, none other than Zoran Mamdani. This clown is at it again, my friend. This guy is out of control. He really, really has got his head so far up his rectum. It's hilarious. Mamdani is reviving the diversity, equity, and inclusive goal of ending gifted and talented program. So instead of taking children from whatever background and promoting their skills, they're going to put them in the class with the dunderheads, and they're going to have them bored, probably do stupid things, get academic trouble, get into disciplinary trouble, wind up with drugs and other things, instead of encouraging gifted students to succeed. This is the epitome of socialist nonsense, trying to reduce everyone to the same level and punishing those who succeed. So Zoran Mamdani wants to get rid of the gifted program. This guy is just an idiot. All these leftists. It's crazy.
You're talking about the guy running in New York City?
Oh, yes. The Islamist fascist. Yeah, Zoran Mamdani.
Yeah. He's one you're praying and hoping doesn't get in just for the sake of the people in New York City.
Yeah, I don't want to say racial balance is just a word for discrimination. It's so often leveled at gifted and talented kids because they're white and Asian, are typically a higher proportion of kids in those programs. That's exactly right. It's a trend trying to undermine these programs to dumb down the education standards. And look, we've seen this playbook, John. We've seen it in play. It's called South Africa. The government of South Africa has lowered the passing marks. I don't know if I've told you this in the program before. You go through basically the high school graduation phase. It's called matric for matriculation. And you take examinations to exit high school to go to university, hopefully. You have to score for a certain percentage. The government of South Africa's education department has lowered the standards in 3 subjects to 30% as a passing mark. In one subject, 40%, and in your first language, 40%. So if you go to high school and you get 35% in math and 37% in science and 31% in English, and your first language is Zulu and you get 50% there, or you get 41% there, you are considered a high school graduate worthy of entering university. Who accepts 60% fail rate? 70% fail rate, which is that's what it is. If you got 30%, 31%, that means you got 69% wrong. I don't want after medical school. I don't want people like that building the bridge that I have to drive over every day, and I worry about a structural safety. I don't want people like that inspecting my meat. I don't want people like that anywhere near me. Send them back to school to get an education. This is what they did in South Africa, and you see it in the economy now. Functionally illiterate adults. You have corporations that are auditors. They have to bring back retired auditors and pay them consultancy fees to train the people who are university graduates who ostensibly are prepared to do accounting, but are incapable of it. Many of them can't add and subtract, yet they graduate high school, they've gone to university, they've been given a stipend to go there, free tuition, and they cannot function in society. This is what's coming for any country that tries a stupid path. It's beyond stupid.
It is. It was the dumbing down that we've talked about for forever and a day, or what they used to call in the 80s, a decline of Western civilization.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. Now it's the elimination of Western civilization. Western civilization doesn't exist in East London. It doesn't exist in Leicester. It doesn't exist in Manchester. It doesn't exist in Birmingham. And it will soon be wiped out in all of London by the Islamization, the urbanization, the Africanization, the Asianization of Great Britain. It's sad to see.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's the Irish are going through a terrible time right now because of overabundance of immigration from the Mideast, and now they don't know what to do with it. We got people complaining here in the United States that Dearborn, you can hear me, right? Yeah, okay. My screen went black. My screen went black. I'm like, what happened? Michigan, they're complaining about Dearborn, Michigan, because there's so much Islamic population that they're ringing the bell 5 times a day now in the city. You can hear it, citywide, calling people to prayer. And I'm not sure that I think that's wrong or illegal, because I know it's not illegal. They can set their ordinances whatever they want because their population is predominantly Muslim. They can do that, but a lot of people are just concerned that it's a growth of Islam. I almost say what you said: growth of Muslims in the United States of America taking over, and there's an agenda for it. We've heard this agenda, and we're seeing migration of this in certain sectors of the United States.
Well, I definitely take exception to it. This is not Islamic society. If you want to disturb the peace 5 times a day, Mecca and Medina are calling. Tunis, Algiers, Damascus, Jerusalem, Istanbul. These are all cities that welcome you there. Go there and ring your bell 5 times a day. You can have your faith and not do that. Plenty of people do that. When I lived in North Africa in a predominantly Muslim country, and I lived in other predominantly Muslim countries, I respected the laws and norms. I didn't ring my church bells and disturb their peace and quiet at odd hours to celebrate things. So I really do have an issue with it. And that's not acceptable because it drives down property values. It disturbs the peace. It disrupts sleep patterns. It's ludicrous. If you want to celebrate your faith, do it peacefully and quiet without disturbing others. This whole minaret thing, you shouldn't need to be called and reminded when it's time to go pray and disturbing my sleep. When I live in your country and you disturb my sleep, well, that's because I choose to come to your country and I have to tolerate it because it's your society, it's your rules, it's your law. This is our country. This is unacceptable. It needs to be stopped. We already have tens of thousands of mosques around this country, and people are flagrantly violating the rules in many municipalities like Dearborn.
Yeah. So wasn't there some national laws coming out, or didn't they have some bills that were trying to pass regarding these sorts of issues?
Well, that would be a local thing. It could be done at state level, but it's usually done at municipal level trying to stop it. And of course, the moment they're called racist, of course, how can you be racist against a faith that everyone of every skin color embraces, Islam? So when they run out of that, they call it anti-Islamic or Islamophobia. It's not. It's not. I also don't want Hare Krishnas standing in front of my house chanting all night. That's disturbing the peace. So they're banned from that. No, it's a really sad situation. And you're right. Ireland is disgraceful what's happening in Ireland. I think Conor McGregor is going to wind up being in charge of that country just because the Irish politicians have failed so badly, and the Irish, they've had enough. They can't take it anymore. They are a minority in the country. They're being harassed and chased off the streets of their own cities. Dublin looks like West Africa. It doesn't, or it looks like the Middle East. It doesn't look like Ireland. And the people coming here, very few of them have any interest in preserving the culture, heritage, or the language of the country they're invading. And so why would you let them in?
They're not migrating to foreign countries because they want to embrace their culture. The objective is to migrate to foreign countries to bring their culture to those countries. They want to turn this into Iran, Iraq, so on and so forth. You know, these countries used to be vibrant, liberated nations back in the day, you know, where people could dress the way accordingly how they wanted to dress. They were free to act how they wanted to act. And now they got them stuck in burqas and limited to their travel. And, you know, everything's based on Sharia law.
Well, and that's another thing. You know, you have places in England where Sharia law rules. It's not even legal. And yeah, we have the National Health Service in the United Kingdom kowtowing to barbaric cultural practices coming out of the Arabian Peninsula, saying that first cousin marriage is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's healthy, in fact. Oh, no, it's not. There's a reason why we ban it. But they're promoting first cousin marriage. But I guarantee the first time a little 16-year-old English girl marries her 17-year-old British cousin and they're white, people will lose their minds. You can't do that. Well, why can the Muslims do it?
Didn't they criticize people like Elvis or Jerry Lewis or whatever it was over too close-knit marriage?
Jerry Lee Lewis apparently married his first cousin, if I remember correctly, and she was also a minor. So that was a very controversial situation, but it was a different time, different age.
Were they first cousin or second?
I thought they were first cousins.
Yeah, first is awfully close.
I think she was 13 or 14 when he married her.
Yeah, same thing with Elvis. I think she was 14 or 15, and people.
Yeah, but that's not a first cousin. That's I mean,
no,
yeah.
I don't think it was.
That's just Kinderschnitzel.
Kinderschnitzel.
That's what we call it. You can get yourself in trouble.
Is that a term in Germany?
Oh yeah. Of course, Kinder is children, and Schnitzel is, you know, a tender fillet.
yeah. A food item.
Say again?
A food item, schnitzel.
Yeah. Sorry, schnitzel is a breaded piece of veal or pork. These days you also get turkey. It's really tasty. Usually you bread it and then you squeeze some lemon over it. It's quite good. But schnitzel, of course, is something that you enjoy. You lick your lips and you chomp over. Hence, for the losers, Kinderschnitzel. It's too young. Stay away.
Yeah. No, actually, I've been to a few German restaurants here in the United States and have had it. It's pretty good. Having had a German sister-in-law, I've had some German cooking that was good.
I've had a lot of German cooking that's good. I love eating in Germany. It's fantastic. The restaurants have always been amazing. Even local ones are, you know, I wouldn't say world class, but I call them world class. Yeah, I don't know what other people think, but German food, I always got a kick of that. People like the Germans. They have no cuisine. Oh, they do have incredible cuisine. The people that don't have any cuisine are the Brits. Their cuisine is just shockingly horrible. Oh, my goodness.
Bland.
Well, bangers and mash. And, you know, my gosh, it's like you're eating you're filling up a tank trap with what you eat in the morning with those guys. And then you've also got what's some other things they're famous for? They love.
Well, they're known for fish and chips, which I think is pretty.
Yeah,
good,
but I mean that's just simple. That's not exactly but the Brits have it. I mean, like chicken. Is it which one of them is invented by a Brit? It has nothing to do with India. One of the Indian dishes. Try which one is. It's not chicken. It's not vindaloo, I don't think, but it's one anyway. But yeah, it's something that it's not Indian. It's invented by someone of Indian origin in the UK to get a meal that the Brits would eat. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But the British cuisine is not my cup of tea. But I do love German cuisine. French cuisine is very good. It's not something that appeals to me, but when you sit down and eat it, it's actually pretty darn good most of the time.
As long as it's not snails, man. I was in DC one time. And, my wife and I went to a place and we sat down and I'm looking at snails and stuff. I'm looking at the menu. I go, no, we got to go. We didn't stay there long. We went to the Italian place down the road.
Well, I'm always on the lookout for an Indian restaurant, a good Indian restaurant. I've eaten Indian restaurants in New York City, in Ottawa, in Tampa, Florida, in London. Fantastic there, all over the UK, all over South Africa. And the best Indian food I've ever had has always been in London, just up the street from Piccadilly Circus. Some fantastic areas of London. I think that's Soho part of town. It's just amazing. And decent price. At least they were last time I ate there, but it's been a few years. I don't go to London anymore because it's just such a hassle going into the town. Unless you take the train, you don't want to drive in there and getting around. Plus, it's not English anymore. So, I mean, why would I want to go to the British Museum when there's no Brits there? Why would I want to go to Speaker's Corner when a Christian gets up and then a Muslim runs over to a police officer and says, I'm offended by what he said, and they threaten the Christian with arrest because he's speaking in a public square, doing what's allowed under his law. It's crazy.
What is it with the Brits? I mean, how stupid can you be with the lack of freedom of speech thing? You can't say anything anymore. Somebody gets offended, they point a finger, and all of a sudden you're arrested, fined, or put in jail. It's ridiculous.
Exactly right. It's just kowtowing to radicals, and they lack the courage to do the right thing. It's pretty shocking, but it's true.
Wow. Yeah, it's nutty to me. But I also remember when Harry and Meghan, which I'm not fans of British royalty, but I have family members that are. But at the same time, he made a statement one time that Americans are too hung up on their freedom of speech. It's like, what? Whoa. You just need to cart your red-haired butt right on back over to Britain, where they don't want you there either.
Well, people say that, but then when they find what they feel is an infringement upon their freedom of speech, they start signing the American Constitution when they're not even Americans. A South African who was just had his visa revoked, someone I've actually been in an interview with previously, Nota Boloy, said some vile things about Charlie Kirk, and they just revoked his visa. He's like, I've been censored. No, you haven't. No one took your comment off of Twitter. You did that. That's on you. Yeah, but they took away my visa. Well, speech has consequences. It's not universally free. So, you say stupid things are going to happen to you. And so he's lost his visa to be American. And he's, he feels like he's been targeted. Nope. No one came into your house, made you sit down on your phone and type in vile comments on your Twitter account and then send it. No one did that. You did that. And it's strange because later he removed it and apologized. So obviously he must have realized there was something wrong with it.
I noticed Stephen King likes to spend his time on X and say vile things. And there are people there that will call him out in a heartbeat. They let him have it constantly.
That's good. Well, he should have it called out. I mean, it's not my favorite. His novels are not that great. Not my cup of tea. So,
well, I think we've hit the end of our show there, Chris.
Yeah. All right. Wrap it up, John.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our show. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, we'll be back next week, same time, same place. So be good. If you can't be good, well, be good at it. And we gone.
Oh,